So the police officer showed up at my door. My wife was confused. She first was concerned. She thought something happened with me, so she was scared, like, to see the police officer. It was like, what happened to him? They're like, oh, and then she finds out what it was about. She was like, what? You know what I mean? She was like shocked. So I'm like, what? The cops came. They're like, listen, this is what happened. Somebody called because they heard your daughter cry. And my wife's like, do you want to go look at her? You could see her. She's fine. The police officers didn't even care. They were like, oh, no, that's okay. We kind of figured it was that she was, it was bedtime routine. Peace. Welcome to another episode of Don't Quote Me on 27th Letter Podcast. My name is Lanre Onigbinde Bay. Today, in the previous video, I touched on how important my children are and so on and so forth. What it means to me to be raising these children. This past summer, I experienced something that was kind of upsetting in trying to sleep train my daughter, Militia. So anybody that has children has gone through this phase. She's 3 now. From the day she was born, she barely slept in her crib. This little girl barely slept in her crib. She always ended up in our bed. Her crib just became a storage space, pretty much, until we eventually just put it away and sold it. We're like, this is pointless. So, and then she got her own room. Again, we're thinking, okay, she has her own room now. We're gonna get to, sleep through the night. She's not gonna be there in the middle of the night asking for us. No. She's there. She still calls for mommy. Usually mommy. Always mommy, tell you the truth. So that's the default. I don't know. So she calls for mommy, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating. So one day I spoke to my empress. I'm like, listen, man, we need to, because even putting her to sleep was a long process. So bedtime routine would be me or her mom going in the room. First, we used to lay with her on our bed, but then when we started sleep training, we're like, okay, we're not going to lay with you on the bed. We're going to sit beside the bed and put you to sleep. You know what I mean? Do the routine bedtime story. Sometimes she likes to watch little bedtime stories on YouTube videos or a song. And she really likes a lava song, So this is routine, and then eventually it's like, okay, time to go to sleep. Then we stay with her till she pretty much falls asleep because she doesn't want to be left alone. So we sit there. Sometimes it takes forever. We take her up 45 minutes, an hour, and there's stuff I need to do. She's taking forever to fall asleep, and usually there's 2 of us at home when this happens, so we're able to navigate it, both parents. But on a particular day, my wife works late, so it's usually me alone putting her to sleep. So this particular day was that day. All right. This is after I spoke to my wife about sleep training her. We're not gonna lay in bed with her. We're gonna allow her to figure it out if she gotta cry, but we're just gonna let her be and do her thing. So when it was time for her to go to bed, she was already a little upset about going to bed. Which child isn't? So anyways, I'm like, listen, it's bedtime, little girl. Let's go. Bring her upstairs. Did the real routine, and she's upset. Like, she doesn't want to sleep. Like, she's like, no, you already know. Summertime, it's a little bright outside. When it's really around our bedtime, we try to bring her to bed around 7, So, but starting bedtime routine at 7, sometimes you're not coming out of a bedroom till like 8:30. Like, it's crazy sometimes. You're lucky if you come out at if you start at 7, you come out at 7:45. That's quick, But again, so we're trying to sleep train her. So this one particular, she was just upset, wasn't having it. I started crying. So I'm like, okay, She doesn't want to go to sleep, but it's bedtime, so I'm not just gonna just give in to her and just be like, okay, yeah, sure, you're gonna have to sleep. No, it's bedtime. Unlike mommy, daddy can sit there and listen to you cry. You know, I know for the mothers, it's hard for them to listen to their child cry, but daddy has no problem sitting there, especially when it's trying to teach you something in the process. So for like half an hour, I kid you not, she cried. She cried. Mommy. She's asking for her brothers, daddies. Then she's by the window crying. So I don't know if her crying by the window is what got a certain anonymous neighbor, which is, and when I say anonymous, I mean that because I don't know who did it. This anonymous neighbor of mine called the cops, but I did not know. Nor did the peace officers showed up at my door when it happened. So later on, she finally fell asleep. You know, she stopped crying. She was like, okay, I'm done crying, because she will do that. She was like, okay, I'm done being upset. Like, she would fully tell you, okay, I'm done being upset. Now let's get back to what we're supposed to do. And she fell asleep shortly after. You know, but it's after half an hour of crying. So, and when my wife came on, when my empress came on, I'm like, man, today was rough. She was crying and whatnot, and you know, I gave her the update, and you know, whatever, and think nothing of it. She checked up on her, she was fine. Went to bed. Everybody went to bed. But I had some work to do, so I wasn't home in the middle of the night, and then I get a call from my empress in the middle of the night after I left. She's like, the cops just came to our door. I'm like, what? And then she told me what had happened. So apparently when she was crying, somebody must have called, not like a regular precinct number or division number. They called 911. Like, I can't believe this. Somebody actually called 911. Called 911, okay? They complained about my daughter crying and to pretty much insinuate that there might be abuse happening. Man, I was upset. So when the peace officers came, when the cops came, they came. This was like at 2, 3 in the morning. So remember, this call came in, must have went in like around 7:30, right? 7:30 p.m. And for them to get that call and not respond fast tells you either the person that made that call is somebody that they've dealt with numerous times and can't take their concerns seriously, and or the peace officers or whoever took the call knew, oh, it's probably a child crying because it's bedtime. Because if you would know as a parent, oh, it's around 7 o'clock, it's my bedtime, child crying, oh, it's no big deal. But because the call came through, they still got to follow through, but they didn't follow through till later on, which was weird. Like, it's like, which tells me they know that it wasn't something that serious. So the peace officer showed up at my door. My wife was confused. She first was concerned. She thought something happened with me, so she was scared, like, to see the peace officer. It was like, what happened to him? They're like, oh, and then she finds out what it was about. She was like, what? You know what I mean? She was like shocked. So I'm like, what? The cops came. They're like, listen, this is what happened. Somebody called because they heard your daughter crying. My wife's like, do you want to go look at her? You could see her. She's fine. The peace officers didn't even care. They were like, oh, no, that's okay. We kind of figured it was that she was, you know, it was bedtime routine. They leave, but my wife tells me, I was so upset. I wanted to come home right then, like right now. And I was going to go knock on whichever door I felt it was, yo. I just needed to find out, like, who was stupid enough to even make this call. And if you're so concerned, why didn't you do more than just make a call? You know, it is what it is. Came home. When I came home, right away, I went to the row of houses, because I live in a complex with townhouses. I went to the row of houses behind my house because that's where my daughter's window faced. So I figured, okay, whoever called, you know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just taking a shot in the dark. But I need some answers. So I knocked on a few doors like at 6 in the morning, and I'm like, hey, listen, this is what happened. I remember one of my neighbors was like, listen, nobody's gonna admit to it. Nobody. So after knocking a couple of doors, I just said, you know what? I'm just gonna go home. Still upset about it. Then I thought of what to do. I'm gonna write a letter. I'm gonna put the whole neighborhood, the townhouse complex within my vicinity, put them on notice, talk about what happened, and explain to them why it's not cool at all. So I drafted up a letter, printed it, put it on my USB stick, went to the print shop, okay? And before that, I counted how many houses is gonna get served. I'm not playing. How many houses? It was like 70 something houses. Boom. Print out 80 pages. You know, it's a 1-page letter. Waited till around everybody was home, usually around 6, 7, which is around the same time the person called the cops, peace officers. Went on everybody's door, giving it out. Passing it up, giving it out. Like a good amount of people came to my door after. And they're like, listen, that was crazy whoever did that. That was not me. And the reason why people were reacting that way is because they see me with my children. Like I'm one of the most active fathers within this complex that we live in. Like real talk. Like I'm one of the most active fathers in the complex. You see me with my 3 children, whether we're bike riding, going to the park, always active. So when people got the letter at the door, they were like, what the heck? They were just as shocked and confused, like why would somebody do this? And if you're so concerned, why didn't you just come knock on the door yourself? So before I end this, I'm going to read to you the letter I wrote. I have it here on the computer. Excuse me as I read. So I start off, dear unknown neighbor, I hope this letter finds you in good health and spirits. I am writing to address the incident that occurred on June 20th at around 7 p.m. where you saw fit to contact emergency services based on your assumption that my 3-year-old daughter was being abused. While I appreciate your concern for children's welfare, I'm deeply disappointed in the approach you chose to take, as it lacked both empathy and common sense. Let me begin by clarifying the situation that you overheard. My daughter was experiencing a meltdown as children her age occasionally do, particularly during bedtime routines. In an effort to teach her emotional regulation, I allowed her to express her emotions and cry for a period of time before helping her calm down and eventually putting her to bed. This method is widely recognized and recommended by child psychologists as a means of fostering emotional intelligence and self-soothing skills. Your decision to call 911 instead of approaching me, a reasonable and caring parent, reveals a fundamental lack of understanding and respect for our community. It is perplexing that you would jump to such alarming conclusion without taking a moment to consider alternative explanations. Had you mustered the courage to knock on my door, you would have realized that my daughter was not in any immediate danger, but merely experiencing a moment of emotional distress. I find it unfortunate that your call to 911 wasted valuable time and resources that could have been allocated to genuine emergencies. In a world where genuine acts of abuse and neglect occur, your misuse of emergency services only serves to divert attention and resources from those who truly need them. It is disheartening to witness such a display of thoughtlessness and irresponsibility. That's another thing. To even make the accusation that my daughter was being abused, like, bro, like, that was just added insult to injury. Like, bro, what? My God. In conclusion, I implore you to exercise great care and compassion in your future actions. Instead of resorting to baseless assumptions and unfounded judgment, I urge you to foster open communication, understanding within our community. It is through dialogue and mutual support that we can build a safe and harmonious environment for all residents, particularly our children. I trust that this incident will serve as a wake-up call, prompting you to reevaluate your actions and attitudes towards those around you. Let us strive to create a neighborhood characterized by empathy, compassion, and respect for one another. I sincerely hope that we can move past this unfortunate incident and work towards a more inclusive and understanding community. Thank you for taking the time to read this letter. I hope that it provides you with a fresh perspective on the events that transpired. If you have any genuine concerns or questions regarding my daughter's well-being or our family, I encourage you to approach us directly and we would be more than willing to address them. Wishing you enlightenment and understanding, Landry. So this is how I was able to feel better about the whole situation, you know. And after that, you know, I used to be, the jovial, being friendly with my neighbor. After that, I'm like a little prickly. Like I'm not even gonna lie. Like it changed me a little. You know what I mean? How I approach my neighbors now, And I even went as far as going to the local division, the precinct, and serving that letter because I don't know what type of paperwork or files open based on this phone call. And when I went to the division, to the precinct, they were like, "There's no record of this at all. There's no record. We know, yes, we understand. Yeah, there's a record of the call coming in, but there's no paperwork. There's nothing. Nothing has come of it. So I couldn't even give them a paperwork to add to something that was already open. There was nothing open, So like I took it there, went to the precinct. They were like, "No, just hold on to it for your own record." Because I was that upset. I wanted to address this immediately, So with that being said, there you have it. Sleep training my daughter. Woman calls the cops on me. It's like, you know how hard it is for men to stay out of the spotlight. You know what I mean? You know how hard it is. Like I could literally do bad by myself, yo. I don't need the help, yo. Like it's been documented. I could really mess up my life by myself. I don't need nobody else calling the cops on me when I'm doing something as mundane, profoundly caring as taking care of my daughter in my own home. Like that is madness. It just goes to show you, like when so-called dark-skinned men, quote-unquote black guys, talk about having this target, always having this, you know what I mean, like eyes on us. Even when we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, we're still getting cops getting called on us. Like, can you believe that? Oh my God, I was so upset. Anyways, all is well. We keep it moving, and my daughter is still ending up in our bed somehow. Help me, help us. Here's another episode of Don't Quote Me. My name is Landry Onigbindegbe for 27 Letter Podcast. Check out this next video. It's very important on allowing children to voice their opinion, the benefits of it. I know some of us grew up different, but I speak on allowing, the importance of allowing our children to voice their opinion. Check out the video right here, somewhere around my face. I don't know, somewhere. All right? Peace!